I run a liquor store on the edge of town, the kind of place where the neon open sign flickers like a dying heartbeat and the floor tiles are permanently sticky with spilled soda and regret. It's called Jack's Spirits, but most people just call it The Hole. We sell cheap vodka to alcoholics, cigarettes to teenagers with fake IDs, and dreams to the desperate in the form of lottery tickets. But let me let you in on a little dirty secret. A secret that, until tonight, was my golden goose. The tickets I print for the customers? They're fake. Fugazis. I rigged the machine about a year ago. I'm good with tech, too good for this dead-end life, so I bypassed the handshake protocol. It looks real, sounds real, prints real. But it doesn't connect to the State Lottery Commission's network. If a ticket hits, it won't register in the system. Why do I do it? Because instead of getting a measly 7% commission from the state for every ticket sold, I pocket 100% of the cash. Straight into my wallet, tax-free. It's simple math. The odds of winning anything substantial are astronomical. Most people lose. When they hand me $5 for a quick pick, that's $5 for me. If a customer wins small, $10, maybe $50, I just pay them out of the register right there. They smile, they buy a six-pack, they leave happy. I'm happy. Nobody knows the difference. It was a flawless scam. It paid for my car. It paid for the new roof. It was paying for my daughter Lily's medical bills, which were climbing faster than a junkie's debt. But tonight, staring at the TV screen mounted above the beef jerky rack, the world just fell out of my ass. The Powerball draw was live. The balls tumbled in the air chamber like popcorn. One by one, they rolled down the chute. 4, 12, 28, 33, 45. And the Powerball, 9. As the final number settled, my vision blurred. I felt like I was gonna puke right on the linoleum floor. I collapsed into my swivel chair, the leather groaning under my weight. My brain was screaming one word over and over, fucked. I am totally, irrevocably fucked. I remembered the numbers for this draw perfectly because I sold that exact combination in my shop 3 days ago. Because of the rollover jackpot, the prize this time was capped at a cool $10 million. Any other shop owner would be popping champagne, calling the local news, getting ready for that bonus check the lottery commission gives for selling a winner. They'd be dreaming of a vacation in Cabo. But for me, this wasn't a celebration. It was a funeral. Because I sold the guy a fake fucking ticket. Usually, my shop barely scrapes by. If I played by the rules, after rent, electricity, and the bribes to the local health inspector, I'd be eating cat food. But by printing fake tickets, I was pulling in 6 figures a year. It was the only way to keep Lily alive. But the fatal flaw in my genius plan was simple. If someone hits the jackpot, the payout has to come from my pocket. I've been doing this for a year. The biggest win was $2,000. I paid the guy immediately via Venmo, laughed it off, and he thanked me like I was Santa Claus. $10 million? I could sell my kidneys, my house, my shop, and my soul to the devil at a crossroads, and I wouldn't cover a fraction of that. I was sweating like a whore in church when the front door chimed. Ding dong. The smell hit me first. Cheap whiskey, stale cigarettes, and unwashed clothes. I looked up, and my heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. It was Jenkins. The town drunk. The guy who won the $10 million. Chapter 2, The Winner. Jenkins was a loser in every sense of the word. He lived in a rusted trailer out by the bog, almost 50 years old, with skin like leather and a liver that was probably screaming for mercy. He couldn't afford a wife or a pot to piss in, but he was a gambling addict. He'd starve himself just to buy his daily numbers. A few days ago, he came in with 2 crumpled, dirty dollar bills to buy a quick pick. I felt sorry for the bastard. I even gave him a free cup of coffee because his hands were shaking so bad from the DTs. And now, those 2 filthy dollars had turned into a fortune. Or at least, he thought they had. Jenkins looked different today. Usually, he walked with a shuffle, head down, avoiding eye contact. Tonight, his eyes were manic. He swaggered over to the counter, flashing a grin full of yellow, rotting teeth. "Hey, Jack," he slurred, leaning over the counter, his breath hot and sour. "You see the numbers?" "Yeah," I choked out. My throat felt like I'd swallowed sand. "I saw them. Thanks to your lucky shop, I'm finally out of the shit." He laughed, a wet, hacking sound, and slapped the counter with a flat palm. "Once I get paid, I'm gonna break you off a fat chunk of change. You always treated me right, Jack." I stared at him. This guy was a welfare case yesterday. Now he carried himself like a king. "I'm heading to the city tomorrow to cash it," Jenkins whispered, leaning in closer, tapping his dirty fingernails on the glass next to the scratch-offs. "Tell me again. Where's the main office?" I forced a smile that felt like rigor mortis setting in. "Downtown. 4th and Main." "Right. 4th and Main." He patted his chest pocket. "Be careful with that ticket, Jenkins," I said, testing the waters. "Lot of bad people out there." Jenkins grinned, looking over his shoulder, his eyes narrowing with a sudden, vicious paranoia. "Nobody knows but us, Jack. This paper is my life. Anyone tries to touch it, they gotta kill me first. I mean it." I saw the glint in his eyes. He wasn't joking. He had a rusty knife he carried for protection, and right now, he looked ready to use it on his own shadow. "Go home, Jenkins," I said softly. "Get some sleep." He left, belching booze fumes into the night air, whistling a tune I didn't recognize. After the door closed, I locked it. I flipped the sign to closed. Then I went to the back room and dry heaved into the slop sink for 10 minutes. If Jenkins goes to the lottery commission tomorrow, they'll scan the ticket. It won't register. They'll tell him it's invalid. He'll scream. They'll investigate. They'll come here. They'll check my machine. And then I go to prison for 20 years. And Lily dies because nobody pays for her treatment. The door opened again. I jumped, ready to fight, but it was Sarah. My wife. She looked beautiful in her blue dress, the one I bought her for our anniversary 3 years ago. It was slightly frayed at the hem now, but she wore it like couture. She was carrying a metal lunch pail, coming off her shift at the cannery. Seeing her nearly broke me. "Hey," she said, looking at my pale face. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I couldn't tell her. I couldn't tell her that I was about to destroy our lives. "Just a long day," I lied. "Let's close up early. I can't be here." On the ride home, silence filled the car. It wasn't a peaceful silence. It was heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. Sarah seemed distracted too, staring out the window at the passing streetlights. I knew why. It was always Lily. Our daughter was 7. She had a rare blood disease, diamond black fan anemia, but a resistant strain. She needed targeted drugs and monthly transfusions just to stay alive. The insurance covered some, but the experimental stuff? The stuff that actually worked? That was out of pocket. That's why I started the scam. At dinner, Sarah barely touched her food. She slid her phone across the table. It was a website for a specialist clinic in Boston. "Jack," she said, her voice trembling. "This place. They've cured 2 kids with Lily's condition. Gene therapy. It works. We've talked about this, Sarah. We need to go." I put down my fork. I checked the treatment. The surgery, the recovery, the stay in Boston, it's $3 million minimum. Up front. We couldn't raise that if we sold everything we own 10 times over. Sarah stared at me, her eyes intense, burning with a mother's desperation. What if we suddenly came into some money? I laughed bitterly. The irony was suffocating. We don't play the lottery, babe. And money doesn't fall from the sky. She didn't argue. She just took her phone back and went to check on Lily. That night, I lay in the guest room, staring at the ceiling fan spinning in the dark. Whir, click. Whir, click. I made a decision. I wasn't a killer. I couldn't hurt Jenkins. But I was a thief. I had to go to Jenkins's trailer. I had to steal that fake ticket. If I took it and burned it, Jenkins would wake up thinking he lost it in a drunken stupor. He'd scream, he'd cry, but he'd have no proof. The lottery commission would have no record of a winning ticket sold. It would just be the ramblings of a drunk. If the ticket disappears, there's no proof. No winner. No payout. And no prison for me. Chapter 3, The Hanging Man. 3 a.m. The witching hour. I dressed in black, hoodie, jeans, gloves. I felt ridiculous, like a cat burglar in a bad movie, but desperation makes you do stupid things. I crept out of the house. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds. Perfect. Jenkins lived in the trailer park on the edge of the woods, the armpit of our town. It was a place where hope went to die, filled with meth heads, stray dogs, and rust. I parked my car a mile away and walked through the woods. The mud sucked at my boots. I reached his trailer. It was a tin can on wheels, covered in moss. Dead quiet. The door wasn't even locked. Of course not. Jenkins never had anything worth stealing before today. I pushed it open. The hinges screamed softly, sounding like a gunshot in the silence. I froze, waiting for him to shout, for a dog to bark. Nothing. I squeezed inside. The smell of mold, unwashed laundry, and stale booze was overwhelming. "Jenkins?" I whispered. No answer. I crept toward the bedroom at the back. The door was ajar. I pushed it open. Pitch black inside. I held my breath. It was too quiet. No snoring. No heavy breathing. Jenkins was a heavy sleeper, usually sounded like a chainsaw. Is he not here? I pulled out my phone and used the screen's dim light to check the bed. Empty. The sheets were twisted, but no Jenkins. Did the bastard run off with the ticket already? Did he go to a hotel? I swore under my breath, turning to leave. Suddenly, a hand brushed my shoulder. I jumped out of my skin, nearly pissing myself. I spun around, hands up, heart exploding. Jenkins. Wait. I can explain. I whispered frantically. No answer. The hand just rested there. Heavy. Cold. Jenkins? I slowly raised my phone light. The hand wasn't attached to a body standing next to me. It was dangling. I looked up and swallowed a scream. Two bare, dirty feet were swaying gently in the air, right at my eye level. I tilted the light up. Jenkins was hanging from the ceiling fan. A thick extension cord was wrapped around his neck. His face was purple, swollen, his tongue sticking out like a strangled dog. His eyes, God, his eyes were bulging out of his head, staring straight at me, accusing me. I've never seen a dead guy before. Not like this. The fan creaked under his weight. Creak. Creak. I panicked. I didn't check for a pulse. I didn't look for the ticket. I bolted. I ran out of that trailer, tearing through the screen door. I ran all the way through the woods, tripping over roots, getting whipped by branches. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I drove home, shaking so hard I could barely keep the wheel steady. I collapsed in the guest bed, pulling the covers over my head like a child hiding from monsters. But as my heart rate slowed, my brain started working. The adrenaline faded, replaced by cold logic. Why would Jenkins kill himself? He just won $10 million. He was in my shop hours ago, talking about fixing his life. He was talking about getting rich. He was happy. Manic, sure, but happy. People don't win the lottery and then hang themselves 4 hours later. He didn't commit suicide. He was murdered. Someone killed him and staged it to look like a hanging. And there's only one motive, the ticket. That means someone else knew. Jenkins told someone. Or someone saw him checking the numbers. If the killer has the ticket, they're going to try to cash it. And when they go to the lottery commission, when they scan it and find out it's fake, they're going to come back to the source. They're going to come to me. Or worse, they'll think I scammed them out of a real ticket. Chapter 4, The Vulture. The next morning, sirens woke me up. The whole town was buzzing. Jenkins's landlord went to collect rent around 8 a.m. and found him doing the dead man's jig. The cops ruled it a suicide immediately. Why wouldn't they? He was a drunk, depressed, living in squalor. Who gives a shit about a dead loser, right? I stood in the crowd outside the police tape, listening to the gossip. Finally did it, huh? Said old man Miller. Owed me $50, the prick. Probably drank himself into a depression, said someone else. Nobody knew about the $10 million. The killer hadn't talked. Wait. I felt eyes on me. A prickle on the back of my neck. I turned and saw Spike. Spike was a local lowlife. A grifter, a thief, a small-time dealer. He had a bleached blonde buzz cut, tattoos on his neck, and eyes that looked like shark glass. He was leaning against a lamppost across the street, smoking a cigarette. He wasn't looking at the trailer. He was staring right at me. And he was smiling. Why? I hurried home. My nerves were fried. I needed coffee. I needed a Xanax. Sarah was on the couch when I walked in. She looked weirdly happy. She was texting on her phone, humming a little tune. Jack, she said, looking up. The doctor in Boston replied. He says Lily has a great chance. He wants to schedule a consultation for next week. We don't have the money, Sarah. I snapped at her, louder than I intended. The stress was leaking out. Stop dreaming. We can't afford a plane ticket, let alone the surgery. She flinched, hurt crossing her face. I'm just trying to have hope, Jack. Why are you so angry? I'm not angry. I'm realistic. I stormed out and went to the shop. I couldn't be around her. The guilt of the secret life I was leading, combined with the image of Jenkins hanging, was too much. Around noon, the shop door opened. It was Spike. He walked in like he owned the place, grabbing a bag of chips and a soda. He didn't pay. He just leaned on the counter, crunching loudly. Hey, Jack, he grinned, revealing a gold tooth. Lunch. I'm buying. Well, technically you're buying. I'm busy, Spike. Get out. We need to talk, he said, dropping his voice. About Jenkins. My stomach dropped. What about him? Not here. He nodded toward the diner across the street. Buy me a burger. We sat in a booth at the greasy diner. The waitress, Marge, poured coffee that tasted like battery acid. Spike downed a beer in one gulp. Jack, my man. I saw something interesting last night. I swallowed hard, gripping my mug. What? I was out prowling around 3 a.m. You know how it is. Insomnia. He winked. I was near the trailer park. And I saw a car parked in the woods. Your car, Jack. I froze. And then, Spike continued, leaning in, I saw you sneaking into Jenkins's trailer. Dressed like a ninja. Very cute. He laughed, picking a piece of food from his teeth. And imagine my surprise when I hear the old drunk hung himself this morning. Right after you paid him a visit. Listen, Spike, I hissed, leaning across the table. Save it. I didn't kill him. Didn't you? Jenkins was happier than a pig in shit yesterday. He told me he was gonna be rich. He won the lottery, Spike. $10 million. A guy like that doesn't off himself. Spike's eyes widened. 10 million? Yes. He had the ticket. Spike leaned back, whistling low. So that's it. You killed him, Jack. You knew he won. You snuffed him, took the ticket, and staged the suicide. My blood ran cold. He had it figured out. Except for the part where I didn't kill him. You got no proof, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Spike pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen and turned it around. A video played. It was grainy night vision, but clear enough. It showed me parking my car. It showed me walking into the woods toward the trailer. I should go to the cops, Spike mused, tapping his chin. Murder one. That's the chair in this state, isn't it? Or maybe lethal injection. I didn't do it. But I'd rather have a cut, Spike smiled. 2 million. Cash. Today. I don't have the ticket. I pleaded. I swear. When I got there, he was already dead. I panicked and ran. Bullshit. Spike slammed his hand on the table, making the silverware jump. You have the ticket. 2 days, Jack. 2 million, or I send this video to the sheriff. He stood up to leave, grabbing a handful of mints from the bowl. Then he paused. Man, he chuckled darkly. When I get that money, I'm getting a high-class girl. Like the one I saw leaving Jenkins's place right before you got there. I froze. My entire world stopped spinning. A woman? I whispered. Yeah, Spike said, chewing a mint. Total MILF. Blue dress. Great ass. Long dark hair. Looked like she was in a hurry. Blue dress. Long hair. My breath caught in my throat. My wife. Chapter 5, The Blue Dress. I sat in that booth for an hour after Spike left. The coffee went cold. The diner noise faded into a dull roar. Sarah. It wasn't possible. Sarah was the sweetest, most gentle woman I knew. She couldn't kill a spider. She cried during Hallmark movies. But she was desperate. I remembered the look in her eyes last night. What if we suddenly came into some money? I remembered the blue dress she was wearing when she came into the shop. I remembered her texting on the couch this morning, looking happy while I was traumatized. I drove home. I felt like I was driving to my execution. When I walked in, Sarah was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables. She was humming again. Sarah, I said. My voice sounded hollow. She turned, smiling. Hey! You're home early. I'm making stew. I walked over to the laundry basket in the hallway. I dug through the clothes. There it was. The blue dress. It was crumpled at the bottom. I pulled it out. There was a dark stain near the hem. Mud. The same mud from the woods near the trailer park. And on the sleeve, a tiny, reddish-brown speck. Blood? Or rust? I held it up, my hands shaking. Sarah, I said, turning to face her. Where were you last night? She froze, the knife hovering over a carrot. Her smile faltered. What do you mean? I was here. With you. No, I said. I went out at 3 a.m. You were asleep. Or I thought you were. Jack, you're scaring me. Spike saw you, I said. He saw a woman in a blue dress leaving Jenkins's trailer last night. Right before I found him hanging from the ceiling. The knife clattered to the floor. Sarah's face went pale, then strangely calm. The sweet, innocent housewife mask slipped, revealing something harder underneath. Something primal. He was a drunk, Jack, she whispered. I stared at her. You killed him? I went to talk to him, she said, stepping toward me. I heard him at the shop yesterday. I was outside in the car, remember? I had the window down. I heard him bragging to you about the $10 million. So you went to rob him? I went to beg him, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. I went to beg him for a loan. Just $3 million. For Lily. I thought, he has $10 million. He doesn't need it all. He's a good man, right? He'd help a dying child. She wiped her eyes furiously. But he laughed at me, Jack. He was drunk. He tried to touch me. He said he'd give me the money if I gave him something in return. I felt a surge of rage, but also confusion. So you killed him? I pushed him away, she sobbed. He fell. He hit his head on the table. He stopped moving. That doesn't explain the hanging, Sarah. He was hanging. I panicked, she screamed. I checked his pulse. He was dead. I thought, if they find him like this, they'll know it was a struggle. They'll find my DNA. I had to make it look like he did it to himself. She grabbed my shirt, pulling me close. I did it for Lily, Jack. I did it for us. I found the ticket in his pocket. We have it. We have the money. She reached into her bra and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. The ticket. The fake, worthless ticket. She held it up like a holy relic. We're saved, Jack. We can go to Boston tomorrow. I looked at the ticket. I looked at my wife. She was a murderer. She had strangled a man, or staged it, whatever, to save our daughter. And she had killed him for nothing. Sarah, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. Oh my God, Sarah. We just have to cash it, she said, her eyes wide and manic. We go to the commission. We get the check. We leave this town. I couldn't tell her. If I told her the ticket was fake, it would destroy her. It would mean she killed a man for a piece of scrap paper. It would mean Lily dies anyway. But if I didn't tell her, she would walk into that lottery office. She would hand them the ticket. And then the cops would come. Chapter 6, The Cleaner. Give me the ticket, I said. No, she clutched it tighter. You'll throw it away. You're scared. Sarah, listen to me. Spike knows. He has video of me at the trailer. He wants $2 million or he goes to the cops. Sarah gasped. Spike? We can't cash it yet, I lied. We have to deal with Spike first. If we cash it now, he'll know we have the money. He'll bleed us dry forever. She hesitated, then handed me the ticket. What do we do? I'll handle Spike, I said, a dark resolve forming in my gut. You pack a bag for Lily. Get ready to go to Boston. But the money. I have savings, I lied again. Hidden savings. From the shop. I didn't want to tell you because it was illegal money. But it's enough for the first payment at the clinic. It was a lie. A massive lie. But I needed her calm. I took the ticket and put it in my pocket. Stay here, I said. Do not leave the house. I drove back to the shop. I went to the safe in the floor. I pulled out my emergency stash, about $50,000 in cash. It wasn't $2 million. But maybe it would buy me time. I also pulled out the Smith & Wesson .38 special I kept for robberies. I texted Spike. Meet me at the old lumber mill. Midnight. Come alone. Chapter 7, The Confrontation. The lumber mill was a skeleton of rotting wood and rusted machinery, looming over the river. I arrived at 11:50 p.m. It was pouring rain. Spike was already there, leaning against his Camaro, smoking. You got my money, Jack, he shouted over the rain. I walked toward him, the bag of cash in one hand, the gun in my pocket. I have 50 grand, I said. That's all I can get tonight. The rest. I need time to cash the ticket. Spike laughed, kicking a puddle. 50 grand? That's a tip, Jack. I said 2 million. The lottery commission takes weeks to pay out. I shouted. I can't just walk in and walk out with cash. Take the 50. I'll give you the rest when I get it. Spike stopped laughing. He pulled a knife from his belt. A big one. You think I'm stupid? He sneered. I know you have the ticket. Give it to me. I'll cash it myself. I got connections. No, Give it to me, or I send that video right now. His thumb hovered over his phone screen. I didn't have a choice. I pulled out the gun. Spike froze. Whoa. Jack. Easy. Delete the video, I said, my voice shaking. Delete it and take the 50 grand. Walk away. Spike stared at the gun. Then he grinned. You won't shoot. You're a liquor store clerk, Jack. You're soft. He took a step forward. Stay back. Or what? He lunged. I didn't think. I just pulled the trigger. Bang. The shot echoed through the mill. Spike stopped. He looked down at his chest. A red flower was blooming on his white t-shirt. He looked up at me, shocked. You? He collapsed face first into the mud. I stood there, the rain soaking me to the bone. I had just killed a man. I checked his pockets. I found his phone. I smashed it on a rock until it was dust. Then I threw the pieces into the river. I dragged his body into the river. The current took him. It was done. Spike was gone. The video was gone. Now, only one loose end remained. The ticket. Chapter 8, The Truth. I drove home. It was 2 a.m. Sarah was waiting up. She had the bags packed. Lily was asleep in her room. Is it done? Sarah asked, seeing my wet clothes and the wild look in my eyes. Spike is gone, I said. And the money? She asked. Did you cash the ticket? I looked at her. I couldn't keep lying. The weight of 2 dead bodies was crushing me. I pulled the ticket out of my pocket. Sarah, I said softly. Sit down. Why? This ticket, I held it up. It's fake. She blinked. What? It's a fake ticket. I printed it. I rigged the machine at the shop. I've been doing it for a year to make extra money for Lily. The numbers matched the draw, yes. But this piece of paper, it's worthless. It's not in the system. If we try to cash it, we go to jail. Sarah stared at me. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Fake, she whispered. Yes. So. Jenkins. Jenkins won nothing, I said, tears falling again. He died thinking he was a millionaire. But he was broke. Sarah started to shake. I killed him, for nothing. It was an accident, I said, grabbing her hands. You said he fell. I strangled him, she screamed, pulling away. He didn't die when he fell. He was still moving. I finished him. Because I needed that ticket. Because I thought it was $10 million. She fell to the floor, wailing. I'm a monster. I'm a monster. I hugged her. We cried together on the kitchen floor. 2 murderers. 2 failures. And Lily was still dying. Chapter 9, The Last Gamble. The next morning, we didn't go to Boston. We didn't go to the police. We cleaned the house. We burned the blue dress. We burned the ticket in the fireplace. We tried to go back to normal. But you can't go back. A week passed. The police investigation into Jenkins stalled. They ruled it a suicide. Spike was listed as a missing person, likely skipped town. We were safe. Technically. But Lily was getting worse. She was pale, weak. The doctor said she didn't have much time. I sat in the shop, staring at the lottery machine. The machine that started it all. A customer walked in. It was Mrs. Gable, a sweet old lady. "One quick pick, please, Jack," she smiled. I looked at her. I looked at the machine. I could print her a fake ticket. I could take her dollar. But I couldn't do it anymore. I reached under the counter and flipped the switch I had installed a year ago. The bypass switch. The machine hummed. It reconnected to the state network. I printed a real ticket. "Here you go, Mrs. Gable," I said. "Good luck." She left. I sat there, looking at the empty shop. My phone rang. It was the specialist in Boston. "Mr. Thompson," the doctor said. "I'm calling about Lily." We reviewed her file again. "I told you," I said, my voice tired. "We don't have the money." "Actually," the doctor said. "That's why I'm calling." An anonymous donor contacted the hospital yesterday. They've set up a fund for children with rare blood diseases. Specifically, your daughter's condition. I sat up straight. What? They covered the full cost of the treatment. For 3 children. Lily is first on the list. Can you be here on Monday? I dropped the phone. I sat there, stunned. Anonymous donor. Who? Then I saw it. On the counter, near the register, was a newspaper from a week ago. The day Jenkins died. There was a small article at the bottom. Local recluse leaves fortune to charity. I read it. Arthur Jenkins, known locally as a transient, actually held a significant inheritance from his estranged father, a steel magnate. Court documents reveal Jenkins had $12 million in a trust he refused to touch due to a grudge against his father. In his will, updated just last month, he stipulated that upon his death, the entire fortune should be donated to pediatric medical research. I stared at the paper. Jenkins didn't need the lottery. He was already rich. He was living in a trailer out of spite. And by killing him, Sarah had triggered the will. She had killed him for a fake ticket. But in doing so, she unlocked the real money. I started to laugh. It was a hysterical, broken sound. I closed the shop. I walked out to my car. I drove home to tell Sarah. We were going to Boston. Lily was going to live. And we would have to live with the ghosts forever.